Honestly, it's one of those topics that is really important to me that I think isn't talked about enough. I'm an anthropology student right now. I did a really interesting class last semester about how we process grief as a society and all that kind of stuff.
Interesting.
But it's always been a very large part of my life, just from a interest perspective.
Yeah.
But then it's also my partner has a terminal illness.
Hmm. Yeah.
And so it's something that's kind of on my mind a lot. It's not something, 'cause a lot of people I feel tend to ignore it
Mm-hmm.
and just kind of put it off as long as they can. But me and my partner, we don't have that luxury. It's always in the back of our mind. And so it just makes you think about it a lot more.
It all starts with a single question asked to an anonymous caller. What do you think happens when we die? And from there, the conversation goes in completely unexpected directions. Some speak with certainty, others with doubt. Some are still trying to make sense of it all. I'm Zach Ansell, and this is When We Die Talks, a podcast about death, meaning, and how that shapes the way we live. This podcast was born from my own fears around death and the need to talk about it. Thank you for being a part of this conversation. I'm glad you're here. This episode is brought to you by Woven WordPress. One day, your name will be written on a family tree. Just a line between two dates. But who were you between those years? What did you love, learn, overcome, become? The Fabric of Me is a guided journal to help you capture the stories, memories, and meaning behind your life, so you're more than just a name to those who come after you. This thoughtful, crafted book is an heirloom piece intended to outlive us all. Leave something real. Begin your story at wovenword.net. Hey, welcome back or welcome here if this is your first time. When we hear about someone who has a terminal illness, most of the attention naturally goes to the person who's sick. What they're going through, what they need, how they're handling it, and that makes sense. And of course that matters. But there's another experience sitting right next to that one that doesn't get talked about as much. The partner, the caregiver, the person trying to love someone while also watching time move differently than it used to. That's who you're hearing from today. And I'll just say this up front. I came in with some preconceived notions and I was surprised at how young the caller is. It changed the way I heard everything that came after. Not because it makes the situation more tragic or anything like that, but because it's hard to imagine caring this much this early in life and still showing up with as much care as this caller does. You can hear two instincts pulling against each other. The pull to be here right now and the pull to race ahead and ask, what am I going to regret when they're gone? What should I be doing differently right now? And when you live with that question close enough, even the normal stuff in a relationship can start to feel loaded. Even conflict, even a random bad day. All right, let's get into the call. I hope you enjoy.
Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
Pretty all right. How about yourself?
I'm doing okay. Another day. Thank you for being willing to do this.
Oh, of course.
Awesome. Well, the first kind of thing that I'm always very curious about is a lot of people don't like to talk about death. It's a weird and a hard topic for a lot of people. I obviously know a little bit about you because of your application, but I always think it's an interesting place to start of just briefly why you're even interested in having a conversation about death with a complete stranger.
Honestly, it's one of those topics that is really important to me.
Yeah.
That I think isn't talked about enough. I'm an anthropology student right now. I'm actually doing all my emphasis in anthropology, the study of death. I did a really interesting class last semester about how we process grief as a society and all that kind of stuff.
Very interesting.
But it's always been a very large part of my life, just from a interest perspective.
Yeah.
But then it's also my partner has a terminal illness.
Yeah.
And so it's something that's kind of on my mind a lot. It's not something, 'cause a lot of people I feel tend to ignore it and just kind of put it off as long as they can.
Yeah.
But me and my partner, we don't have that luxury. It's always in the back of our mind.
Yeah.
And so it just makes you think about it a lot more. And I think that's something that more people should do.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm obviously very interested in diving more into that story and all that. I mean, I'll say something I usually don't. I usually then jump into kind of a little bit of getting to know you, but I think one of the things that really intrigued me about speaking with you, so we don't talk about death as you kind of stated, and we have our issues with that. But when we hear about people going through like a terminal illness, we often hear about the perspective and the experience from that person. My experience is a little bit different than yours. It was not terminal, but I had a partner who had cancer. Everything turned out fine. But it's an interesting story to be told from the perspective of the caregiver. And so, yeah, I'm really interested in hearing about your experience on that side of things, because I think that is often forgotten, that you are also going through something very big and very impactful. So, yeah, I'm very interested to dive into that and hear your perspective. But before we do that, maybe we can just kind of get to know you a little bit, where you're calling from, roughly like city, state. And then the second question is, what's your favorite book and why? And I think you actually answered both those questions in the application.
Absolutely. As far as where I'm calling from Los Angeles, down in California. Great city. Love it so much. We have a great museum of death down here.
Oh, do you? I had no idea.
We do. It's absolutely amazing. It is not for the weak of stomach.
Okay. I had no idea. That's awesome.
Absolutely. The only thing I could not do was the taxidermy room. I can't do taxidermy. The rest of it, absolutely fantastic.
Interesting. I've talked to multiple people from LA in this project, in this process, and nobody's mentioned it. And I think it's probably one of those things that a lot of people don't even know exists. Or maybe they do and just don't talk about it.
I definitely think it's one of those things which is shocking to me, because there's a giant skull mosaic on the outside, big old sign that says Museum of Death, and just no one that I know has ever heard of it.
Next time I'm down there, I'm definitely going to check it out. Thank you. Sorry, I took us off on a tangent because that's very fascinating. Your favorite book and why?
Oh, the tangents are the best part.
Of course. I feel like there's going to be a lot of them throughout.
Oh, absolutely. As far as my favorite book, it is split between two that are in the same series by the same author.
Yep.
So the series is Discworld by Terry Pratchett.
Yep.
It's a 42-book series.
It's 42 books?
Also in these sub-series.
I had no idea it was that long.
It's 42 books, all in all.
Whoa.
But they're all decently standalone.
Okay.
So you can read them in whatever order.
Okay.
But there's also different sub-series within it that focus on different main characters. So you have a series that follows the City Watch. You have a series for the wizards, one for the witches. So my favorite, as one might guess from the topic of our conversation, is the Death series.
Yep.
Which focuses on death, on the Grim Reaper. But my two favorites in the Death series are Hogfather, which is a Christmas adaptation.
Okay.
Where Santa Claus is assassinated and Death has to take over the role.
Amazing.
But it focuses on why we tell certain stories, why we create Santa Clauses and Tooth Fairies and Grim Reapers and that kind of thing. Because we need those stories in order to believe the bigger stories.
Yeah.
And it's very tongue-in-cheek, but also very poignant. And that's the best kind of writing for me.
Awesome. That sounds amazing.
And then there's the other book, which is actually the one that follows Mort, if you were to read them in order, called Reaper Man, where the auditors of reality, who kind of maintain the order of the universe, they look at Death and they figure, oh, he's getting too much of a personality. He's caring about people too much. And so they force him into retirement. He's not Death anymore.
Oh, no.
He's mortal. And Death gets to experience what it's like to just be a person.
Oh,
he joins
interesting.
Little town, saves someone from a fire, becomes like a local character.
Interesting.
And just experiences what it's like. But then because there's no death anymore, nothing can die.
Oh.
So all the different living things start making new deaths from their collective consciousnesses. So now you have a death of turtles. There's a death of rats, who's a recurring character in their books. There's a death of mayflies. And then you have the new death of humans, where the original death was just classic skeleton, cloak, scythe, calm demeanor, pretty chill guy. The new death has a crown, has a skeleton horse, and the worst part, a sense of dramatics. Because he comes for the old Death when it's his time, but he has to wait until midnight because that's the most dramatic time.
Oh, no.
Which gives the old Death time to prepare. But then at the end, to spoil it a little bit, old Death goes up to the Death of Universes, the ultimate authority, makes his case that there has to be a death that cares. We have to care about the souls that we take, because what can the harvest hope for but the care of the Reaper Man?
Oh, interesting.
There has to be someone to hold your hand along the way. And honestly, I really dig personifications of death in literature and mythology and all that kind of stuff. This is the most well-written death I've ever seen.
Interesting.
And honestly, it's the one that I hope I meet at the end.
That's amazing.
Absolutely.
It sounds like we could probably go on and on about books. And I think we're going to go off on a lot of tangents anyway, and the books are going to come back into it as we talk more. But maybe we can get into the kind of thick of things at least and start with, what do you think happens when we die?
Honestly, it's one of those things that I am comfortable saying I don't know, because it's one of those things that I think there's a lot of people that claim to know. There's a
Yeah.
lot of people that claim to be able to communicate or what have you. But I think it's the only thing that we can't know,
Yeah.
because we can't send someone over and then bring them back to give a mission report.
Yeah.
But it is one of those things that I'm also comfortable not knowing. Like, there's a lot of things where I'm like, okay, what's at the bottom of the ocean? We don't have a great answer, but
Yeah.
I want to know the answer.
Yeah.
But as far as the ultimate end, it's one of those things that has definitely been influenced by my partner.
Yeah.
If you know what happens, you're going to spend all of your time before it happens thinking about it.
Mm.
So I think not knowing is a great way to just not worry about it.
That's really, really interesting because at face value, you would say it's very similar to what a lot of people do is just don't think about it, right? You've taken a different approach at it where it's like the acceptance of it. The acceptance of I don't know, I'm not going to know, and that's okay. And not from a fearful place, but from an understanding that if I do think about this all the time, it's going to impact the time that I have left with my partner.
Definitely.
Interesting. That's not something I'd ever considered. So I guess maybe what do you hope happens then? If there is a hope, or is it,
Honestly,
like you said, you have that acceptance, it's like, it doesn't really matter because I'm okay that it's going to happen.
Honestly, as far as what I hope happens is a little bit kind of what happens in Discworld, of just you wake up next to your body, death is there. He says, all right, it's time. And you're just like, well, all right. And you just walk towards the horizon together. But part of being an anthropology student is that I've kind of collected a bunch of different afterlife stories. I really like the Egyptian underworld.
Okay.
Can you? You go through the whole process.
Can you explain it a little bit? Because I think we have this idea of the pyramids and and this and that, kind of these little stories that we've heard, but this is not a perspective that anybody's brought up so far. So if you could explain that a little bit, I think that'd be amazing.
Of course. Honestly, Egypt is one of my favorite mythologies, so I love just thinking about it a lot.
Yeah.
But as far as like Egyptian funerary practices, most people were not mummified. You could only be mummified if you could afford it. But the burial rites kind of surrounding mummification were very common. As far as people very frequently would be buried with things that they would want to keep into the afterlife. There were different spells you would cast to bring those things over to give them protection on their journey, all those kinds of things. But the big thing, so the mummification process, different organs are stored in those 4 canopic jars, but then the heart is left in the body, because the heart is important in the ceremony where Anubis, the god of mummification in the afterlife, will take your heart and weigh it against a feather. And if you are a good person, you haven't done a lot of bad things, you're a pretty chill person, the heart will be lighter than a feather and you'll be able to go off into the afterlife. If your heart is heavier than a feather, you've done a lot of bad things, or what have you, you are fed to the monstrous Amit, who I can't quite recall her combinations, but if I remember correctly, she's a combination of a lion, a hippo, and a crocodile.
Oh yeah,
if I remember correctly.
That's quite the combo.
But the whole thing of you are a bad person, you are devoured by this monstrous being because your heart is heavier than the feather. But then if you are a good person, it's lighter than the feather, you go forth, you enjoy your afterlife.
So it is a little bit, I mean, not exactly heaven and hell, but there is an element of like judgment, right? And the scales and weighing. Mm-hmm. That's very interesting. I feel like I remember hearing about the scales at some point. I have like a very random question off of this. I do really want to talk about your experience with a partner with a terminal disease. Like, I think that is a very, very interesting story. But the anthropology thing you threw at me, what would you be buried with? Assuming it was the same type of thing, like what's one thing that you would want to be buried with that you would take to the afterlife?
Okay. I'm going to go with, there is a very fancy cup that I have that I got at a Renaissance fair.
Oh, nice.
It's nice and fluted. The body is ebonized oak wood. So it's oak wood that's been treated to be black. And the handle is purple heart. And it's just a really, really sexy cup.
Nice. And that's going to be your afterlife cup. Everything The
That's
beverages
going to
are
be
going
my
to be
afterlife
flowing
cup.
in the afterlife cup. I like that.
Exactly.
It's such a random question though. But yeah, maybe we can kind of bring the conversation back around now if you're willing to talk about it. Because I don't want to sit here and say, tell me your partner's story. That's not what this is about.
Hmm.
Like, this is about you and sharing what your experience has been like. So I am curious, what is it like being in that situation? How do you take care of yourself in the midst of it? Like, I know that was something for me that was like, you're trying to take care of your partner, but then like, it's the whole airline emergency mask thing. Like, you do need to put the mask on yourself first. And it's hard, and it's not necessarily selfish, but like, it's hard to be selfish in a moment when your partner's going through something. So I am curious what that's been like and how that's impacted, your thoughts around death, of this acceptance a little bit. But I am curious of, what that's been like for you.
Honestly, it's been very easy, but also very hard
Yeah.
because I've had an interest in death for long before I even met my partner.
Mm.
And so I've had a big kind of internalization for a long time.
Yeah.
But then when we started dating, we've been dating for a year and a half, and when their health started declining to the point where it is now, it's been a lot of, well, I have all this famous pontificating on the matter, and
Yeah.
I make a big deal about how I've internalized it all. That all goes away once you have to actually start dealing with it more seriously.
Yeah.
There's been a couple of kind of scares of my partner has been like, I think now is getting to the time. And so we sit down, we have a nice dinner, we watch
Mm.
a movie that we like, and then it's just we lay down and, hey, when I stop breathing, call 911. And that's happened twice. And both times it's been just all of the thinking about it's going to be fine, they'll be okay, I don't know what happens, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
All of that just goes away because it's suddenly real.
Yeah. It's so present.
And those times are when it gets hard.
Yeah.
Because being a caretaker, honestly, for me, isn't super, super hard. Because we go to school together, we dorm relatively close to each other. And so I go over all the time. They come over to my place all the time. So the actual, like, taking care of all the illness parts of terminal illness hasn't been super, super hard.
Yeah.
It's all the terminal parts that are a little more difficult.
Yeah.
But it's honestly, I would say the hardest thing has been communicating it to other people,
Mm.
because very often it'll be, oh, hey, this is my partner. And being with someone who is terminally ill, who is disabled, who is all these different intersectional things has definitely opened my eyes to things like accessibility,
Yeah.
about just like social stigma around these kinds of things. Because there have been a lot of times where I'll introduce my partner to my friends from back home who I've known for years and years and years. And the first thing that I notice them do is look, my partner's cane. And it's those kinds of things that I think have really influenced me the most, of just starting to notice those things. Or like on our campus, my partner primarily uses their cane, but occasionally they're fixed up, they have to use their wheelchair. It has also made me see like, oh, these sidewalks aren't quite wide enough. This building doesn't have the automatic door for wheelchair access.
Yeah.
And it's just starting to notice those things that you didn't notice before because they didn't affect you.
Yeah.
And it just makes you think about other people more.
There's a lot of things that are coming to mind, but I guess one of the things contextually, you both are fairly young.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're both sophomores in college. We're both 19.
Wow. Okay. I mean, and that's not information, and not that like it's information that I expect to get. Like, nobody ever tells me how old they are in the application. I don't ask for it, but I get 3 sentences from people. So I make some conclusions or whatever, but yeah, I was not expecting you to be so young. Dealing with death at that age is a completely different ballgame for both of you. I mean, this is not supposed to happen, right? Quote unquote, not supposed to happen. I don't want to make any presumptions or anything, but how does that play into it? Is there like, this isn't fair or anything like that?
Oh, there's been a lot of nights where either me or my partner or both of us are just sitting screaming at the wall that it isn't fair.
Yeah.
It's definitely had the age play into it, especially because so my partner's disease has 2, I guess, sort of variants.
Okay.
One that's more severe, one that's a little bit less severe.
Okay.
The less severe one, the life expectancy is normally 36.
Okay.
The more severe one, it's usually 18.
Whoa.
And my partner has the more severe one, but as I always say, in my very crass way, outlasted their expiration date. Because their life expectancy was 18, and then they turned 18, didn't keel over.
And
And
that,
so
yeah, go
it's also
ahead.
definitely living with that.
Yeah.
It's definitely living with that of, okay, here was the expectation. We've exceeded the expectation, but we know we're not going to get to the other one. Let's try to figure out between like blood work and whatever the doctors say and just trying to parse how much time there is.
Yeah.
But then it also gets to that thing I mentioned earlier of when you know what's going to happen, you start thinking about it. When you know that there isn't a certain end date, just that it's soon,
Yeah.
it makes you think about the day to day a lot more.
Yeah. Totally.
There were after the first scare where we thought it was time, I started absolutely freaking out for like a week of, well, we haven't done this, we haven't done this, we haven't done this.
Yeah.
We need to. It was almost like a checklist of a relationship because it's you expect that, okay, I'm going to be with this person for, let's say, best case scenario, we graduate, we get married, we grow old together.
Yeah.
Cool. That's 70 odd years
Yeah.
that is being truncated into maybe at most 3. And it's just all these milestones and experiences and everything that you all at once realize that you aren't going to have
Yeah.
because it's in the back of your mind the whole time.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
But
for sure.
again, you don't think about it. And so you realize it and it's all just that sort of thing.
Yeah. If I ask any questions that are like
Then,
completely, I don't want to answer that, or dude, that's a stupid question, please let me know.
oh, for sure.
But the thing that I'm also very interested about is, so when you first got together, like it was known, right?
It was.
I mean, I think that's amazing because I think there's a lot of people in a similar situation be like, no, this is not what I wanted my college experience to be like. Yeah, no, I'm out. But I think it's beautiful that, like, I don't exactly know the right words. Like, it's not like committed, or maybe it is committed, but like, I think there's a lot of people that would have run away from the situation. And it's really amazing that you didn't.
Honestly, it was one of those things of we both have the right set of interests that collide together in a way that we're both a lot chiller with this than we probably should be. Because it was when I went off to college after graduating high school, my best friend from high school was like, "All right, dude, you want to make friends in college? Don't talk about death the first time you meet someone, because that's weird." And I said, "Oh, screw that." And so I did. And now I'm dating the person that I talked about it to.
Oh,
But
that's
then
amazing.
because we sort of had that initial comfort with it all, they felt comfortable telling me sooner than they might have told someone else.
Yeah.
And this is almost verbatim the conversation that happened. My partner says, "Hey, I'm terminally ill. This is the deal." I wait about 10 seconds. I go, "Okay, so you have an expiration date." And just that blasé attitude, I think, is what has carried us through that. Because we can make jokes about it,
Yeah.
it's easier to just compartmentalize it, I suppose.
But maybe also to be more, and I'm an outsider or whatever. And I think this is a thing that comes up, and I kind of been preaching it a lot lately. And, again, I have your application, I go into this call and it's like, oh yeah, this is probably going to be one of the heavier conversations. And I would say even in the heaviest conversations that I've had, there's a lot of laughter. And so we can say compartmentalizing, but I would almost say compartmentalizing to me is not talking about it and not being authentic around it. And like, it sounds like you both are being authentically you. And so I don't see that as compartmentalizing. It doesn't sound like it to me. It sounds like being very truthful and honest. And I think that's a beautiful thing.
There's a passage in Dracula, the original by Bram Stoker. Great book, read it if you have a chance. But there's a passage where Van Helsing is talking to, I think, Seward, and he's talking just about the power of laughter, of just this whole everything can be all doom and gloom all the time.
Yeah.
Bad things can happen. But then King Laugh comes in and he fixes everything.
Yeah.
Because nothing is that serious. You can always laugh about something.
There's always a way to find that silver lining, I believe. What does the next couple years look like to you with you two? And I know that is incredibly unknown.
Honestly, looking at like my partner's recent blood work and just like what their primary doctor has been saying, the next couple years are looking probably more like the next couple of months.
Okay.
It would be an absolute miracle if they made it to graduation. But then
And you said you're a
that
sophomore?
also, yeah,
Yeah.
just started spring semester of sophomore year.
Yeah.
But it's honestly, it's one of those things of we both already walked in having a tendency to bottle things up. But then when the impending doom is on the horizon,
Yeah.
it, I think, makes us more prone to that because it's every time that we have an argument or we have a spat, it's all okay. We just spent the last 30 minutes arguing, and that now 30 minutes that could have been spent doing anything else.
Yeah. Yeah. It definitely puts a
That is now
perspective on
30
things.
minutes closer to the end. And it's all we spent this time doing something that ultimately won't even matter.
Yeah.
Not even in the whole like, oh, cosmic, we all die, nothing matters kind of way, but
Yeah.
in the we're both going to go to bed and forget about this kind of doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things that just makes you think about that specifically. And I think when you think about, okay, I don't want to fight, you ball things up more, which then leads to more fights.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's a whole cycle that is just one of those things that honestly is one of those, I think it's a little unavoidable and just kind of happens, but it's one of those things that is definitely going to bite in retrospect.
Mm.
And I think that is the main thing that's been influencing me recently is how am I going to look at all this in retrospect? Because when you're constantly thinking about the future, you're not living in the present.
Yeah.
But when you can't not think about the future, it's very, very hard to be in the present. And I think that's what's been influencing me a lot.
And so what do you think about, I know this is another weird question, but what do you think about looking back in retrospect? And like, how does that change how you interact day to day?
Honestly, it's a lot of thinking about, well, if I take, oh, let's say we want to go out to dinner today.
Yeah.
But neither one of us quite has the budget for it. But if a couple years in the future, I'm looking back and looking at old photos and like, we could have gone out that day.
Yeah.
We could have made it work. We could have done something, and then we didn't. And now that's lost forever because it's just kind of one of those things where it's kind of like there's an episode. This is going to be so out of left field. There's an episode of The Amazing World of Gumball that I think about.
Never even
Great
heard of this
cartoon
show. I've never heard of it.
Absolutely amazing cartoon. But the like main family starts renting out their spare room as like an Airbnb.
Yeah.
And a couple of fainting goats come in and they think they spook them and think they killed them.
Oh no.
But so they stage all the like vacation photos and everything that when they wake up, they think that they had a great vacation. And I'm like, I'm literally living that right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
That's hard.
And it's one of those things of in the future, I'm going to be looking back on photos and it's just that constant mindset of, well, we could have gone out that day.
Yeah.
And we didn't.
The really interesting thing
and
that
I can't
go ahead.
get
Yeah.
that back.
Yeah. The thing that's interesting is what I'm hearing is like essentially what your experience is, and going back to what you said earlier of, 70 years down into 3, is you're just living the human condition on a much more extreme scale, right? Like everything's compressed because that same thing is true for a lot of people, right? Of, well, I could have done that thing or should have gone out to that dinner, but because the timeline of things is sped up so much that there's just, it's all so ever present for you. Because a little bit, and I think that's why I asked that question about like, what do you mean, in retrospect, it was kind of me trying to understand what you're saying. And now I totally get what you're saying. There are a million opportunities now that you could beat yourself up about in the future, that I didn't do more, I didn't do this. And I think that is the human condition to some extent. Do you find moments where you can live in that space and really enjoy the time together that you two have? Or is there so much pressure of the future?
Honestly, this is both a blessing and a curse. Yeah. All of the happy moments are when I forget about everything.
Yeah.
Like if we're watching a movie that we like, or one of us is showing the other an episode of a show, like I've been periodically showing my partner random episodes of House.
Yeah.
I love House so much.
House is a great show.
Or if we're out we have a sushi spot in Pasadena that we go to all the time.
Nice.
all of those times are, okay, we're sitting down, we're ordering the same thing we get every time.
Yeah.
The staff starts recognizing us and starts knowing what we're getting.
Yeah.
And those kinds of things, this is a microcosm. This is a third place. We're sitting here just doing a thing that we always do because it's a thing we always do.
Yeah.
And in the moment, it's absolutely fantastic. They get a different thing every time. I get eel every time because I love eel. But it's just that microcosm of sitting down, or we go to a museum, or we're just in class together and we're fucking around.
Yeah.
Pardon my French.
You
And
can
it's
say
just
whatever you
one
want
of
here.
those things. Oh, hell yeah. But just those times of we're just here.
Yeah.
We're only thinking about this.
Yeah.
But then the converse is all the bad times whenever we fight, or just it's a slow day or anything. It's just you have time to let your mind wander, and so it does.
Yeah.
And then it's also, even there are times like when we both go home, like for winter break. I live 40 miles east of campus. They live 40 miles north of campus. So we're a decent ways away from each other.
Yeah.
And it's those times of I could call them up because the Pasadena is like between us. So we could go, we have dinner and everything.
Yeah.
But then those times of I'm thinking about it by myself, which then makes me think about the fact that eventually I will be going to that sushi spot by myself.
Mm.
And just those kinds of things of, they say every cloud has a silver lining, but I think every silver lining has a gray lining.
Mm.
All of those moments of complete uninhibited joy are eventually going to be half as joyful in the future. Those things of everything is great and fine and dandy, except when it isn't, except when it is. And it's just kind of it's like a metronome. You're just swinging in between. I was going
to say, it's like a ping pong battle. It seems like a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just a back and forth. And that's so human. That's so realistic, right? Like, and it just sucks. And I'm sorry that you have to go through that. It's really unfortunate.
That is one thing that I hear a lot.
Yeah. Is
whenever I talk about my partner's illness.
Yeah.
Like when I first started dating and I called my sister and I was like, hey, guess what, I was a girlfriend. And I just started talking about it. My sister was like, well, why are you dating someone that you know is going to take it before long? And that entire thing is like, yes, it's a matter of going back and forth between the happy and the sad and the happy and the sad and just back and forth the entire time.
Yeah.
But then eventually, when my partner eventually does die, it'll still go between the happy and the sad.
Totally.
But then time will do what time does. And it's still going to be sad. Grief never fully ends. But the happiness will also never fully end. Because it's like our sushi spot in Pasadena. We went there because my partner recommended it. That is the place where I first tried sushi because my partner encouraged me to.
And look at you eating eel now.
Exactly. And that's the thing of that. Whenever my final meal could be an eel roll and my partner will be there in the eel. Yeah. And it's that kind of thing of I did technically lie. I am not an anthropology student. Anthropology is my minor.
Yeah,
my major, I'm a theater major.
Okay. Good storyteller.
And a storyteller, yeah. When my partner and I had been dating for around 6 months-ish, I started writing a play that is kind of a metaphor for our relationship.
Yeah.
That tells it through vampires.
Nice.
Because monsters are just my favorite thing. But there's a line that I wrote in a musical motif that carries through the whole thing of when the vampirism is revealed and the non-vampire is like, well, I still want to do this. Her line is, I would rather die having been loved by you than live forever having not been. And there's a whole thing of that before curtain rises and then during intermission, the song that plays is Always Forever by Colts.
Nice.
That's and
awesome.
It's just those things of, yes, everything is going to end at some point.
Yeah.
But I will have been better because it ended.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I want to clarify a little bit on my end. Like, I say I'm sorry, and it's not like I wish you didn't have this experience, right? Like, I wish that you didn't have the pain, the suffering. But ultimately what I mean by I'm sorry, and I think there's probably a better way of saying it, but just ultimately that you do have to have these ping pongs, or you use metronome, I use ping pong, like the metronome. Like, I'm sorry that you have to go through that, but yeah, it's part of the circumstance. And so to take that away would to be to take away the situation. And
Hmm.
I, from my perspective, this sounds like true, beautiful love. And I wouldn't take that away from you. So, I guess I wanted to clarify that. I hope I didn't offend or anything, but yeah, it seems
Oh, no,
like,
don't worry about it. You're fine.
yeah, I just wanted to say that, like, you seem like a very good person, and it sucks to see good people. Your partner sounds like a great person. It sucks to see people
Oh, they absolutely are.
going through hard things, but that's also part of being a human. So yeah,
Hmm.
I just wanted to say that. Maybe I can ask you one last question before we wrap up, which I think this will be kind of interesting for you. You have so much life ahead of you. Most likely, what's one thing you want to experience in this lifetime?
Honestly, I don't think there's any singular experience. I think it's more just a general theme of I just hope that the majority of my life is happy.
Mm,
Because it's like I also distinguish between sadness and bittersweetness.
yeah.
Because I would classify bittersweet as happy. Because it's a sad situation that has a happy undertone. And I think like everything like with my partner and everything, I would file that under bittersweet. Whereas something like, oh, if I got fired from my job, that would just be a unilaterally sad thing. There's not really anything happy about that.
Unless it was a shitty job. But
Oh,
yeah,
it's a shitty
totally.
job.
Totally.
But honestly, I just hope I'm happy.
I think you will be. I hope you will be.
Oh, so do I.
Thank you for being willing to do this again. It was a fascinating conversation. I love the anthropology angle too. I'm like jealous of the classes that you've been able to take, and you'll have to like let me know if there's any other books or stuff I need to check out, because it seems like you've got a good read on the good books in this category. But yeah, I just want to say
Mhm.
thank you and for being willing to share your story and to some extent your partner's story. This is stuff that we need to talk about. This is stuff that people need to hear. And I think I've been saying this a lot because I've been doing the podcast for almost a year and a half now. The project from was 3 years. And when I tell people, and it's probably very similar when you talk to your friends about death, it's, oh yeah, why do you want to talk about that? That's weird or whatever. And people are just like, man, that's got to be so depressing. That's got to be so heavy. Once again, we laughed, we had fun. Like, we were able to have this
Mhm.
conversation, talk about something very serious, but this was incredibly enjoyable. And so, yeah, I just want to say thank you for that.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me.
We'll definitely stay in touch. I'm gonna start working on the Discworld books, and I think I'm just gonna work on, I'll start with Mort. I don't know if I'm gonna tackle all. I think, what did you say, 42 or is it 47?
42.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to tackle all 42 books, but maybe I'll get hooked or something. But I'll definitely report back on that. You let me know if you come across any other books that I should read. But yeah, let's definitely stay in touch. And I wish you the best. I hope that as many moments that you have left together, that you can be as present as possible, and that there's not too much worry about the future and the past.
One can hope.
Well, have a good rest of your day and take care.
And you as well.
Thanks.
All right.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
I appreciate how this call stayed grounded in the day in and day out of it. Not just the big emotions, but the small moments that start to feel strange when time is short. How a normal argument can suddenly feel expensive, how love and the awareness of what's coming can exist side by side, and how you can be doing your best and still feel like you're getting it wrong the second your mind jumps ahead. If you're living anywhere near illness, caregiving, or anticipatory grief, I hope this made you feel a little less alone in it. I've mentioned this side project I've been working on multiple times over the last couple months, but I haven't actually explained what it is. It's called Mnemosyne, and the name is a nod to the Greek goddess of memory. It's a guided conversation meant to preserve someone's voice. There's no script, no performance, nothing to get right. We move slowly and talk about what matters, the stories that shape them, what they've learned along the way, and the smaller details that give a fuller picture of who they are. And yeah, part of why I'm building this is the simple fact that we don't get forever. People leave, voices disappear, and having something real to return to can matter more than we realize until it's too late. The goal is to make a recording that the people they love can keep, not a highlight reel, just their voice, held in a way that lasts. The website should be live by next week's episode, and I'll share it then, along with a listener discount code. Thanks for listening to this episode of When We Die Talks. These conversations don't offer answers, but they do open space. Space to reflect, to feel less alone, and maybe to see things a little bit differently than before. If you'd like to explore your own beliefs out loud, you can apply to be an anonymous caller at whenwedietalks.com. And if a full call feels like too much, the voicemail is always open. Leave a message at 971-328-0864 and share whatever death has stirred in your life. Listener support truly helps keep this project going. If you'd like to support the podcast, you'll find a link in the show notes. And as always, please like, share, and follow. Every bit makes a difference. Until next time, have a good life.